What's up, goats? We've got a special bonus episode of the Goat to Market show this week. It's actually a replay of my interview on the Expert Connexions podcast with M Connections CEO Julie Holton-Smith. This was a lightning episode. We did a quick 10-minute podcast interview outside of the Startup Grind Conference in Silicon Valley at the end of April 2025. We talked a lot about the science and art of pitching, ways you can get your message better received by your audience, some of the unique ways that you can actually get a leg up in that perception of what you're building when you're talking to investors, and also a lot of the common mistakes that most founders tend to make. It's a short listen. It's just 10 minutes long, and it's a lot of info packed into a short amount of time. Before we get into playing that this week as your bonus episode, I do want to let you all know that if you have not tuned into Code Launch yet, if you're not aware of it, you definitely should be, because Code Launch is the only equity-free accelerator, pitch competition, and exposure platform, all wrapped into one venturetainment spectacle. So if you need help with developing your product from like 0 to 1, or you need help refining your product, and when I say if you need help, meaning like if you could benefit from having expert software developers build or refine or scale your product, Code Launch is for you. Because what they do in being an equity-free accelerator, pitch competition, and exposure platform is actually give you free software development from top-tier development teams. And then you get to demo your product live on stage to hundreds of stakeholders. And guess what? That pitch that you create for your Code Launch event, you're actually going to get trained directly from me. And then what you're doing on stage is you're competing to secure an investment. So free software development, exposure, and the opportunity to receive an investment. You really cannot get a better offer than this, but you have to apply and get in for this to be for you. How do you do that? Well, you could go to codelaunch.com directly and apply, but if you want to have your application fast-tracked for review, if you want to jump ahead in the line of everyone else applying, then you want to use the unique link that's in this episode's show notes. That's specifically for friends and fans of Startup Hype Man and the Goat to Market show. You use that, what it's going to do is trigger on the back end that, hey, you're from the Hype Man and you're from the Goat to Market community. So they're going to actually bump your application up in line and they'll review you first. And let me just tell you right now, when you think about an application review process, application fatigue is real. So it's to your benefit that you get your application reviewed, first or in the first set of applications versus like after their team has already looked at 120. So use the unique link that's in this episode's show notes for that. It's Code Launch, and it is all about helping startups do all this stuff fee and equity free. We code, you launch, Code Launch. Let's get in now to this week's bonus episode with Julie Holton-Smith from the Expert Connexions Podcast, where we talk about the art of the pitch and opening up Startup Hype Man's pitch playbook.
Raj, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me right outside the Startup Grind Conference. Look at all this activity. This is great. And we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast. Now, Raj, you are the master of pitch.
Try to be.
So what is your secret? In one sentence, what do you tell startups who are trying to master their pitch?
One sentence. Don't be the best, be the only.
Ooh, okay. So that sounds like originality, maybe some authenticity. Talk about that. What's important in a pitch?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of startups that are trying to position themselves as, oh, we're better than, we're the best of. And you can see that a lot of times, like in their pitch decks, where they use things like the 4-quadrant competition slide or the feature table, which is trying to make this case that like, well, we have 9 check marks, but they only have 8. Therefore, we're awesome and we're going to win. More features is rarely the thing that wins. In fact, less features is usually what wins. So stop thinking of yourself as someone else's competition and start thinking about how to put yourself in your own category. How do you go from being one of many to the only one? And a lot of that starts to come through how you position yourself. So if it is talking about competition, think through the lens of creating a category not through the lens of being in someone else's, playground or backyard. If you're trying to get people to just know up front what your company actually does, you got to talk different than the way everyone else does. Because I'll tell you, we're at this conference here. I'll tell you, if you ask most people here, what does your company do? In the first 3-4 words, they're going to say, we're an AI driven, yada, yada, yada. And so if everyone's saying that, then what you're doing is not distinguishable. It's no differentiator. It's not remarkable. So to capture someone's attention up front, you want to use emotion. You want to speak to them as an individual person, not like you're trying to project this to the masses all at once. So, you don't start by saying, well, such and such is a fragmented industry. Right? That's very generic and broad language. No one can picture what fragmented looks like. So figure out how you want to talk. Like if you were talking directly to your customer, what would you say to them? And that's the message you put in front of everyone else, whether it's an investor, whether it's a stakeholder, whether it's someone you're bumping into at an event, whatever it might be. You want to take that one-to-one end customer message and project that to everyone else, but still in that one-to-one language. Because that's how you get to the heart of the matter. That's how you get the emotion behind it. That's how you get someone to go start connecting the dots, because they can feel that there's an actual issue here. By the time you're done talking, they're like, that's so interesting. Tell me more. And now you've just platformed yourself to another 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever.
Yes, that tell me more, which then leads into the sell of the pitch. Okay.
Exactly.
Originality, emotion. Now we've got 150 startups here, more than that, but 150 showcasing their startups this week, pitching to be the startup of the year, the Startup Grind Global Conference Startup of the Year. Now, Raj, you also just wrapped up our very first, Startup Grind's very first Startup Mania in Miami. Now, as you were evaluating those pitches, what stood out to you? What you're talking about, is that what led to the winning pitch?
Yeah, definitely. And we actually, Startup Hype Man, we had, I think, 6 companies compete in Startup Mania. 3 of which, 4 of them made it to the Super 16. 3 were in the Awesome 8. 2 were in the Final 4. 1 was the event runner-up.
Incredible.
And I think 6 of them are exhibiting at this conference as well. But if you look at what these companies did and then what the winner did that worked so well, it was that. It was getting to the heart of the matter, and it was communicating like a human being, taking away the generic language. So one of the companies that was in the Awesome 8 at Startup Mania and is also exhibiting here is Navflex. And Navflex's opener, which we worked on, was, if I can remember it, it's something like, logistics lives and dies by the motto, time is money. That's why every aspect of a warehouse is already automated, except at the loading dock, where a 5-minute delay can lead to a $5 million loss and 5 something else.
Okay, tell me more, right? That's where the tell me more comes in.
And then he starts going into saying things like, and the reason for that is because it's humans operating the forklifts, humans who take sick days, who show up late, who are unreliable. And that segues into actually talking about the product, which is, Navflex makes every dock more palatable, literally. It is autonomous robot-powered forklifts that help factory floors move at the speed of money. Basically, you outfit a forklift with these AI sensors and robotic machinery, so no one's driving it except, it's a headless forklift, if you will. And all of this is helping the cargo actually get in the car and go.
And I noticed immediately, Raj, that you did not start by saying, we are an AI-driven solution to blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's really focusing in humanly on the problem with some emotion, some storytelling, the originality then of what they do. As you said, so the originality, the emotion that's built into your storytelling, and that personalization, that one-on-one conversation, even when you are in a competition and you are speaking to at least a group of judges, but if not the masses.
Well, and you don't work in supply chain or factories or at warehouse automation.
Nope.
But I'm pretty sure you could follow along with that plot line and that story that I was just told, right? So you got to make it easy enough that anyone can understand, even if they don't work in the industry, which the chances are the person you're talking to does not work in your industry, or at least as deeply in your industry as you do. So being able to walk it back and kind of, and like you notice that format of storytelling, we set up like the context first, and I talked about the problem, but I almost educated you on the situation before talking about the problem. Factories live and die by the motto, time is money. That's why every aspect of the warehouse is already automated, except the loading dock where these delays happen. And why does that happen? Because of the humans who are operating, right? So it's like progressive layering of information and not assuming you already know. And if you do already know, then you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so familiar with that. That happens to me. And it's going to be like a double down effect for you.
Absolutely. And startups, if you need help with your pitch, this is the guy, our startup hype man, RajNATION. And I know you've got to get back to Fox Theater. We're in the middle of Startup Friends Global Conference 2025. Before I let you go, though, Raj is also the chapter director for Chicago, our chapter in Chicago. What are the big things happening right now in Chicago? What are you excited about?
So Chicago is making a big bet as a city on quantum computing. So you're seeing a lot there's like a quantum computing hub that's popping up. You're seeing a lot of content around that. As the chapter director for Startup Grind Chicago, I'm still like very much focused on the journey and like helping give people a community for that journey, whatever vertical that they're in. So what we've got coming up in May is going to be a fireside chat with Christina Chappell from 11 Tribes Ventures. They just raised a $46 million fund. And their whole premise, their thesis is investing in the founder as a person, not just an employee of a company. So they have a whole like founder well-being and wellness platform they put you on if they invest in you to make sure that your mental, your emotional, your physical, and your social health are not casualties of the fact that you're running a startup. So I'm excited to talk to her about that.
Talk about a holistic approach to founder wellness. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an in-person event coming up in May, but also check out startupgrind.com/Chicago to see everything that the Chicago chapter has going on. Lots of virtual events too throughout the year. So if you want more of Raj and his team and what's happening in Chicago, check that out. Of course, at startupgrind.com, you can check out all of the events happening all over the world. Raj, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that is all for this episode. We'll see you over in the next one where we interview our next Startup Grind founder.